Good evening and welcome to Mutt's American Crime, where we delve into cases that some people may have forgotten so that those victims may not be forgotten. I am your host, the Celtic Mutt, and tonight we're going to discuss something that I had heard was a possibility. I would need to back up and state that I am very new to the Summer Wells case. Up until maybe a month and a half ago, I had not heard of this young lady, had not heard of the case, and knew absolutely nothing. And I have since learned that this poor girl has been missing for it will be 4 months on I believe it's 14th or 15th of June. With that said, I mean no disrespect, but I am curious about some things and want to address those things in particular. So, if you will indulge me, we will dive in. My I had heard that this case may well be cursed, and I was curious as to why people were saying this. So I reached out to a few of my listeners who are a little more well versed on this case than I am. Actually, a lot more versed on this case than I am. And they kind of gave me a rundown list of people who have passed. And I was actually extremely surprised to see the number of people who have indeed passed that were involved in one way or another in this case. Some of those people include the young man who had gone with Candace and Grandis Hunter, his mother, who I did see the interview on the porch with Leslie, who has also, as I understand it, passed on. That was very surprising to me. Um, as I understood it, when the interview took place, um, Hunter was only like 15 years old, which would mean that he's coming up on, if he's not already, only 19. So for his mother to be deceased at such a young age was very surprising to me. And from what I understand, Leslie, who was Allison's friend, has also passed, which, again, she was in the interview, as many of you may know, or do know. And that was surprising to find out. Um, I may mispronounce this name, so please forgive me. I don't know if it's Josie or Jose Roman, um, who had lived with the Wells for 6 months, um, has passed on, and he had been interviewed at the interview room um, before his passing. And then there was Roy Cotton, I guess is his nickname, Simpson, who allegedly, as I understand it, fell off of a cliff, and he may or may not have been with another individual. Um, and as I understand it, there are several more people who have since passed on. Um, so I could see, I guess, how this case could potentially be seen as being cursed. That is a number of people in a very short amount. 3 years is not that long, but it is a number of people uh, involved in this case that have passed on, and I was very surprised to actually hear this. Um, I have some ideas. I'm wondering, and again, I'm not going to proselytize or preach. Uh, as a former ghost hunter myself, and now strong Christian, born again Christian, I've heard rumor that there have been a number of people who have brought about using spirit boxes. And for those of you who don't know what a spirit box is, it's basically it's like a radio that's in between like in between channels, and supposedly the spirits can use the frequencies in between those channels to speak to people. Um, Here's the thing, though. Again, I was at one time an amateur ghost hunter. That's inviting familiar spirits into a space. And by familiar spirits, let me clarify. I personally believe a familiar spirit is a demon. You can you can agree or disagree. That's fine. These are my opinions. I'm not asking you to take my word as gospel. I'm just sharing what my viewpoints are. Um, but I believe that that's inviting spirits in to communicate with you, and they're going to lie to you and tell you what you want to hear. Now, I'm not saying that that is tied to the deaths that took place. Um, there could have been a number of health reasons. Um, that man who fell off the cliff, that could have just been a fluke accident. I know I can be extremely clumsy. Um, I'm not saying that all of that is tied to that. I'm just saying that that is inviting something in that that people need to be aware of, and people need to be aware that you could be tying that entity to you. Now, I'm not saying that these people were involved in that. I don't know. But if they were, that could be tying that spirit or that familiar spirit or that demon, however you want to look at it, is that could be tying that into what your view is. And that could be attached, and it can literally attach itself to you. So, if that's the case, then, and that's what they're doing, then I would venture to say that yes, they very much are cursing the case. Again, let me clarify that these are strictly my opinions. You do not have to agree with me. Um, Opinions are like body parts. Everybody's got them, and they don't always smell like roses. I'm just going to keep it PG for the moment. I would love to hear what some of you all think. It would mean a lot to me as somebody who is new to this case to hear your opinions. I know that there are some of you who listen, but you don't comment. I invite you to comment, please, by all means. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a community. Let's have a conversation. I am going to ask that if you do that, that you hit the like button, and possibly if you think that you know someone who would enjoy this conversation or this video, that you would share it with them. I'm not claiming to be anything special. But I am someone who has an opinion, and I think that people delving into certain things, especially if they're in an altered state, be it adult beverages or other extracurricular mind altering substances, um, are making it even more easy for those spirits, if they're delving into the spirit box situation, to try to reach out to Summer. Now, I know that there are people out there who are going to say, yes, they're reaching out to Summer. They are reaching Summer. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. I know that people are grieving this young woman, or this young girl, excuse me, this young girl who would be like 9 now, I think. And I feel for you. I do. I genuinely feel for you. Um, I've lost 2 children myself. Uh, Both were stillborn. Um, so I know the loss of a child. Um, I know that pain. Um, and I know that there was a time when I would have given anything to have had contact with my daughters. But I'm not willing to risk my soul to do it. And now please don't hear that I'm saying that I think that even though there is the potential that great evil has been done to Summer by adults on this earth, that her soul will languish. No, that's not how that works. I believe that she's with the Lord. I believe that the moment, should she have passed, the moment her spirit left her body, she was present with the Lord. That is my opinion. You can take it for what you will. Um, that baby was only 5 years old. Her life wasn't even started yet. Not really. And I have to believe that the moment her body expired, her spirit left, and she was with the Lord. That's just my opinion. So, no, I'm not saying that anything bad has happened to Summer since she's possibly passed. Please don't hear that, because that is not the case. Do I think that Don and Candace have a very special place in hell if they have harmed this child? Oh, yeah, very much so. I very much believe that there is the possibility that if Don and Candace have harmed this beautiful little girl in any way, or had anything to do with her demise if she has passed, that there is a very special place in hell. Because even in the Bible, and again, I said I wasn't going to proselytize, but this will be the one time I mention something because it resonates with me. Jesus himself said, let any man who harms a child, and I am paraphrasing, let any man who harms a child, let him have a millstone put about his neck and tossed into the sea. Even the Lord has no tolerance for harming children. Again, that was a paraphrase. So, for those of you who are dyed in the wool, the Bible says this, and this, and yes, I'm admitting I paraphrased it. But I do believe that if Don and Candace have done anything untoward with this child, or had anything to do with anyone who has harmed this child, that there's a special place in hell for them. That's just my opinion. I see that I have one lurker up there. You are more than welcome to hop into the box and make a comment. I am the Celtic Mutt. This is Mutt's American Crime, and I see that I do have one person watching. So I am more than willing to entertain any questions anybody may have. I will say, again, I will reiterate the fact that I am new to the case. In fact, this case was brought to me from my wife and I's channel, which has nothing to do with true crime. We do American history and Americana on that channel, which is the Mutt's American Mosaic. But we have a regular listener who suggested I look into this case, which I have, and they weren't wrong when they said it was a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole. There are a lot of players in this case that I'm still getting caught up on. I mean, like I said, I've only been delving into this case for a month now. I haven't unpacked 1/10 of 1/100th of a tenth of the information that's out there. I'm still trying to figure out who all the players are. So if anyone hears this and wants to comment and help me understand better what's going on, I would greatly appreciate it and welcome it. I welcome anybody onto the channel when I do one of these lives to join us so that they can voice their opinions, so long as they're respectful, and we can, again, have that communication and that dialogue. Again, my purpose is not to pass judgment, although I sound like I am on Candace and Don, but I preface it with, if they've harmed the child in any way. I don't know. I don't know. I know what I think I see, and it's not good. I know what I've heard in a number of the chats that I've been in, a number of the channels that I've gone that have had lives that I've gone into, and it doesn't look good. But I'm not going to pass judgment and say that they're guilty until I 100% know that all avenues have been looked into. Excuse me 1 second. And all rocks have been overturned to look for the evidence that would prove a lot of the theories that I'm hearing correct. I have a lot of problems with some of the evidence that I have seen. Some of the timeline doesn't add up for me at all. There's something about Candace, that really bothers me. The comment that her daughter, Candace, made on the anniversary of her passing, when she was drunk and had allegedly said, and I'm going to say allegedly said that she had expired her sister, bothers me a great deal. And I have yet to get anybody who has been willing to talk about that and whether or not that's even been looked into. Just like I haven't been able and I'm getting off track here, and I'm aware. But again, I started in one rabbit hole, and I've gone into another one. So, um, just like I question and haven't gotten any answers on this question, the doorbell cam from a month or so back. Has that been authenticated? Has that been turned over to the police? What is the latest update on that? I haven't seen anything, and I have looked. So if any of you know anything about that, please, by all means, feel free to fill mud in. I have been told that this community, of the true crime community here, is very welcoming, and from what I've experienced in some of the chats, they are. I would welcome some communication so that I can get some answers to some questions I have. And I guess that's really all I'm looking for, is answers to questions that some of you may have that I don't have, so that I can feel like I'm at least a little bit caught up on all of this. I feel like I'm playing catch up from way back in the parking lot of the football field. So, but that's really what I have to say. I think the case is cursed? I'm going to go with the closing statement here. Do I think that the case is closed or cursed? I think if people are delving into things like spirit boxes to try to reach out to poor Summer because they miss her, that they are inviting something in that they don't understand. Do I think that everybody that has passed in the last almost 4 years has had something evil befall them? No, I don't. I don't believe that. I believe that there may have been health issues involved. The one man who fell off the cliff, as I understand it, that was just an accident. You know, I think that there are a number of things that could have happened. And unfortunately, the longer a case goes on, evidence gets lost, witnesses pass away or move away, and you lose track, you lose contact. These things occur. They're natural in a prolonged cold case situation like this. It's sad to say, but it's true. um, and that's really my take on all of this. So, in closing, yes, I do Irish goodbyes, I guess. I will say that again, one more time, invite any of you to leave a comment. Help me understand. Now, until next time, I wish you all health and happiness. Stay vigilant, stay sharp, and stay listening. And I will see you again very soon.